introduce our fellow. Oh, anyway, got it. I will introduce the two gentlemen who just walked in the door. Zach Taglioli. I met Zach. Oh, what do we say? Zach, you can be the judge on this one. 4 years ago down. Is it 4 years ago down in Wildwood already?
Yeah, 4 years ago, man.
Wow.
Before the pandemic.
Before the pandemic. Well, funny story. I was in a meet and greet in. It's funny to bring up before the pandemic. I had just by chance, I was in the VIP line with Livage Radio, and I had not ran into her, but seen Connie Francis as she was walking down the hallway of Wildwood Convention Center, and the joke is she kissed me on the forehead, and the lipstick still hasn't got washed.
Lipstick on your collar, man.
Yeah. Well, I said change the word to lipstick on my forehead, and I have. Zach. I don't know if I ever told you, but she sent me an autographed picture of that.
That's awesome.
But I have it. My next panelist, he joined us last year, had so much fun with us the first time around. He said, I'll join you for a second year around. We've been friends for about 5 years. I'm extremely grateful that he and Sal Valenzinetti are joining us tonight. Sal will be with us in a moment. Dave Donovan.
How you doing?
Yo, brother.
What's up, man? How you doing?
It's funny, when you're in public, you never know who you're gonna run into, and who knows who. It's a who's who world, but I wonder who's coming in.
The mystery guest.
Yeah.
We should do this the night of. Just pull somebody out from the back.
It's like Dean Martin. You never knew who was behind this door.
Mystery guest, please reveal yourself.
Hey, it's Sal. I'm sorry I was late.
Oh. Sal, how are you?
I'm good, Jacob. How you doing?
I'm good. I should say, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm just in the car right now, so that's why I'm not on video.
That's fine. Be safe. Be careful.
As long as we can all hear each other.
As long as we got everything.
Did I miss anything perfectly important?
No. Well,
Jacob got a kiss on his forehead that hasn't rubbed off yet.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. Sal, ironically, you were there the same night I was there with Connie Francis. We just didn't see each other.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Now, this kiss on your forehead that won't rub off, how tall was the supermodel that gave it to you?
6'2".
Oh, nice. Look at you, Jacob.
I'm waiting, Sal. I'm waiting to. Could you introduce me to Heidi Klum one of these days?
Listen, Jacob, if you can make it out to California to one of those shows at Vibrato, I'm sure we could arrange that.
That's a deal, Dave. Is there a way to get me out to California?
Yeah, we can figure it out.
Absolutely.
What happened?
So are we still waiting on someone, or did I completely disrupt the flow of this meeting?
No. We're just talking amongst us. No, you're not. No.
Cool.
Jacob, do you know how many people are coming? Do you know how many others are coming?
Oh, well,
or do you
Barb,
think they're coming?
when we were, just before I got on with Zach this afternoon on Zoom, I got about four no's within an hour. So I'll give it another 2 minutes and then we'll start, because I don't want to be in mid thought and somebody walks in. I know Linda Babcock is a no because of faithful. I'll get it out. Faithful fingers. It's a tongue twister.
That's a ministry at our church where they make prayer shawls and lap robes and different scarves and hats for people that need them, either because of illness or homelessness or whatever. Even the birth of a baby. Every time Reverend Dave baptizes a baby in our church, we give a handmade blanket to them and all. So it's a really cool ministry. They give to all kinds of, I don't know, there's a bullying thing that they give items to, and I don't know how many thousands they've given away. So that's where she is, and she's kind of in charge of it, one of the people in charge of it.
Well, Dave and Sal, you know her, but she was very sorry she could not make it. Our forever Miss New Jersey. She's not Miss New Jersey anymore. Alyssa did want to be here tonight, but she said she's sorry that she could not attend. Getting ready for a wedding. Getting ready for a wedding in May. And that's all I've got. So, without further ado, I will start committee. We do have two committee representatives here. Reverend Dave and Barb are your committee representatives. Returning panel, as I said, Dave Damiani, Sal the Voice. Stephanie Kleinman is not here at the moment. I would like to welcome Belinda Chester to the team. She is your parent advocate, replacing Allie Southreed, because she is expecting a baby, I believe, in a matter of weeks. So let me, since this is what we have at the moment, let me jump to Zach. Well, first of all, those of you that have known me, and ironically, all of you here tonight have known me a very long time. I will allow you to tell a brief story of how you met me, or how we have worked together in such capacities. Who would like to be the first one to go?
Well, I'll go first. I've known you since you were born.
Yeah.
Because I was very good friends with your grandparents, who I still am very good friends with. And so I've watched you grow up. I saw you in the Absecon Public Schools where I taught. I never had the opportunity to actually teach you because I retired before you were in 8th grade when I was there. But he was like, I will tell you, he was the mayor of the school, okay? Just put it mildly, right to the point. The mayor of the school was Jacob Hackett. But yeah, he, I've watched him grow. How he's faced all the obstacles he's had to face, and then, how now he's really emerged as a leader, which is a really cool thing. So, yeah, I've known him the longest, I guess. That's what I'm trying to say.
I guess I'll go. Jacob and I met through the love of music. Anybody who knows Jacob knows that he loves music. loves the Great American Songbook and beyond. And it was through Dave and seeing his shows with Sal and many other performers that Jacob and I befriended each other. And I'm so glad we did, because I enjoy our talks that we have. I've been a guest on his podcast. He's helped me out in many ways in getting guests on to my show up at college. And I just see him anytime that Dave's in the area or Sal. And it's always great to see him, and to have a friend like Jacob. I think everybody should have a friend like him. So I'm glad to know him, and I'm glad to be a part of this committee and help a great cause.
Thank you, Zach. Next. Belinda, you can go next. I'll save you guys for last in case they have anything funny to say. Belinda, you can go next.
Okay. So I'm Belinda Chester, and I have two boys with autism. And so the original way I met Jacob was his mom was my kid's speech therapist. And that was, 7 years ago, I think, when we first met. Something like that. Right. It's been a long time. And so we've kind of just become, I consider both Heidi and Jacob dear friends now. So that's kind of how that started. But this summer, he has become my periodic Friday lunch date.
Yes,
it's our Zoom lunch. I take my my lunch on Fridays, and he and I Zoom talk while I'm at the office about everything. Music, of course, we spend a lot of time talking about, and things that I want to do in the community, and things that he's doing. We talked about his project with Partners in Progress, and I don't know, everything. We talk about everything. Jacob's my buddy now.
and I've tried to help Belinda, because Barb can tell you this. Schools are not the easiest to work with, especially when you have a child with I don't want to say complex needs, but sometimes we have had our share.
It's okay, you can say complex. It's sometimes complex.
How deep you wanted me to go, but schools aren't the easiest to deal with. And I mean, when you read things like what you had sent me last year that Galloway was doing, I won't, but it's like, I need, as I've told the parent I'm working with now, you need somebody that knows your child. If you have somebody,
yes,
and this does relate to accessibility, if you have somebody on it, you have to put the team together. And if you don't put the correct pieces together, it's not going to work. And
right.
And I've been lucky, and I thank you for having me on the team. And I helped Belinda correct a few issues within the school district. So
yes, and Jacob gave me sometimes the right words to use, because he's been in the situation my son is in, so he could, give me the right words to use to explain what we were looking for as far as accommodations and what would be the most appropriate accommodations. So he's been a huge help that way, because sometimes that's the difficult part as a parent is I don't have the problem my son does, and I need someone to tell me how to word that so that it makes sense for the right accommodation, and what would meet his comfort level when he can't express that to me, if that makes any sense. But
which one of you three gentlemen would like to go next?
I met Jacob at Dante Hall about 5 or 6 years ago. I was doing a show with Haley, and he came to the show. We met afterwards, and we became friends, and we've been friends ever since. So he's come to a lot of stuff and, tried to, I help out with accessibility, and I guess that's how I know you.
Yeah, and I thank you for being one of our Barb, you might know this. Our banner sponsors in the outfield. Yeah, thank you to you, the orchestra, and everybody else who's pitched in to be a banner sponsor. Yeah, 5 years ago, and it's been nothing but a fun ride since, and looking forward to the next 5 and so on and so forth. Sal?
Yeah, can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, you're good.
I'm in an old truck, so it's making a lot of noise. But I very similarly to Dave, I met Jacob through music, through Dave. I think it was Oceans, the Oceans Casino, where we really got to hang out for the first time. And more recently, I learned of Jacob's activism in accessibility, and in his community and everything. And so, Jacob is so active in that regard that, and Jacob obviously being a pal of ours, whatever I could do to help him out. So that's how I know Jacob, and that's what got us here.
Thank you, Sal. Thank you, everybody. Moving on to...
Oh, and Jacob, sorry, I also coined the term the Ralph Nader of accessibility. So
yeah,
just gonna leave that.
Yes,
now we can continue.
Yes, you did. I will be. We should get that put on a plaque somewhere.
Well, Jacob, when one day when you have a desk in City Hall, or in the State House in Trenton, we'll get a plaque made up for you.
Sounds good. I like that idea. Moving on, I will go first.
You forgot somebody.
Yeah, you forgot Reverend Dave.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, get with it, Hackett.
Oh, goodness, Reverend Dave, you can go.
Let me just write this down. It's all right.
Reverend Dave, you can go.
Last is exactly where I want to be. Barb and I will be the bookend. She's known you the longest. I've known you the shortest. So the way our church works is pastors are sent by the bishop to churches, whether they asked for a new pastor or not. Their pastor retired, and they identified me as the next pastor to come here. And Jacob was actually the very first person to reach out to me and welcome me to Absecon months before I started. And so we started talking even before we got to, I was actually the pastor here. And then when I was the pastor, we started talking about some things, some projects that we thought may be good to do. And along the way, Jacob kind of lifted up some frustrations to me about an event that he was doing and didn't really necessarily feel like he was being taken seriously, and didn't feel like he had a say in what was going on or even what he was supposed to talk about or say. And so we worked together on putting something together and preparing as much as we could. And then I said, you know what, Jacob, if this doesn't go the way you want it to, let's do it better. And let's do it here at the church. And even though that event ended up going pretty okay, we said, let's do it anyway. And let's give you the event that you wanted it to be, with your vision fully played out. And we did. We had, what was it, over 60 people in person, and another couple dozen online, and good reviews all around. So this is my second year here now. So Jacob and I have accomplished a lot in just 1 year of knowing each other.
Now I will move on to orders of business. I've spoken to Kathleen Barron today, who unfortunately could not attend tonight. She has been Barb knows this because we worked with her last year, 2021, 2022. She's been an extremely valuable resource. We both feel like we did very well, which exceeded not only my expectations, but our expectations. But our feeling is, why can't we do, and I'll talk about this in a moment, but do events, speak to people about how do we put ourselves on the map, talking to, major people in Atlantic County, speaking to groups. I'm a part of it, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee with Stephanie Kleinman. And Dave and Sal know her well, as do I. And if it weren't for her vision of bringing me on to her committee,
we got Frida coming in, Jacob.
Many years, not many years ago, many months ago, I don't think I would have had the vision to do what we did. So once again, I thank you, committee members, panel, those of you that were part of last year, for having my back and being successful as it was. Hi, Frida. Hi, Nana.
Hi, Jacob.
Frida.
Sorry I'm late.
Yeah,
Hi,
same here.
Frida, Nana, quickly, introduction of the two new panelists sitting here, Belinda Chester and Zach Taglioli, where they're positioned in my bottom row. I don't know where they are in yours, but they are two of our new panelists for this coming year.
Okay.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
So
oh, there, I see him now. Okay.
So guys, I'll start with my concerns as it relates to accessibility. Transportation. I know Belinda watched it. Zach was in the audience. Dave and Sal were on both sides of me last year. And one of my concerns, and Sal, this partially has to do with you, is that I was going to surprise you, but in December, Sal will be performing in Hamilton. And I had asked, Mom had said many months ago, if you want to go see him, we can go for one of your early Christmas presents. I said, I love the idea. So I had called Access Link about 2 weeks ago, asking if they could take me here. They said, we give us the address. We don't know if we can. I was transferred to the address in Fairline. The address in Fairline had said that they do not go there. There's no such a location. I said, yes, there is. The woman argued with me, called back. 4 hours later, I didn't like my mom had said, why don't you call the theater and see if they can help you? Well, as Zach told me this afternoon, the theater is not very responsive. I had called back 4 hours later to a complete completely different extension as it relates to Access Link. I had said to the woman, this is where I need to go. And her response to me was, give me these street addresses and I'll see if we can go there. I gave her the street addresses and she said, these were her exact words, I think we can go there. I think. And you know, I got it. Well, I would like to go. You have a transfer point in Hamilton.
But what does she mean she thinks? Isn't she the lady who has to give you an answer?
Well, yeah.
So she doesn't get paid to think. She gets paid to find out.
Exactly. She gets paid to find out why. And I had said, you know, and she said, I think we can go there just.
Jacob, next time somebody tells you I think, you say, is your name Socrates? And if they say no, you say, then you don't get paid to think. That's kind of ridiculous, because how could you plan ahead? How could you buy tickets for something if you don't know that the service you use will be able to get you there? And it's in New Jersey, isn't it? So
yes, sir, New Jersey Transit. The second story is my mom had said, my mom had said, why don't we see if we can go to a Phillies game? All right, to all of you, the idea would sound completely natural. I had called them and I had said, I need to go to Citizens Bank Park X this day. Can it be done? I knew a dispatcher because she's a bus driver at Atlantic County Special Services. I texted her and said, do you know, can I go here? And she said, I'll get back in half an hour. She said, I know we take trips to 30th Street Station. So I had called back. This is about a week later. And she had said, and Dave was copied in on this text because my mom and Dave, and I forget who else was going to go. But the point of the story is that Access Link told me I would have to take SEPTA from University of Pennsylvania Hospital, which makes Zippo sense.
Right, and thankfully you had an insider that you could call. Like it's almost worse than the service is that there's a lack of knowledge within the department of where the bus can actually take you. Like that's even worse than the bus not being able to take you there, because then you can't plan, period.
Exactly, Sal. It's yeah, because exactly. So here's what I would like, and I'm proposing this, and I want to. Of course, there are 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8 of you. I think before the event happens, Reverend Davis told me he would go with me to the field. I would like some of you to go on a trip. And Dave, when you're here, the end of the month, beginning of September, I don't care where we go, but I want to see where the
I already went with you on that shitty bus twice. I'll just pick you up.
All right, fine. Cancel that deal. Not a deal. Cancel that idea. Yeah, so good idea. So you see where I'm going though, is that something is, as I said the night up, something's got to give people. It's how I get around.
Can you find someone that you could at least talk. I mean, not somebody you know, but somebody higher up on the ranks of Access Link or whatever, transportation system that you could talk to that would have more clout than the woman who's supposed to know where you can go. Because she doesn't have much clout. That's probably part of her problem. But I mean, if you could find a person somewhere up the ladder that you could talk to, maybe you could get more results. Than just talking to the person on the phone.
Yeah,
I don't know, just an idea.
Yeah, I know where you're coming from, Barb, because I've talked to customer service. They've been nothing but phenomenal. But the office is out of state. It's in Pennsylvania. I mean, we can work on it, but I like the idea. Certainly. And
even if we started with a letter to someone, at least it's somebody higher up.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, they can throw the letter in the trash can. I know that, but just a way perhaps to start the dialogue somehow.
Yeah, because I know I'm not the only one, but something as simple as planning ahead, as we all know, it's not the most counterproductive situation. While we are on, before I move on to the next topic, before I forget, we do have the date secured. The date of this event is correct, Reverend Dave? It's May 22nd, 2023, am I correct?
Hey, Jacob, I got a question for you. So Don Guardian was there at the thing. He's a councilman, assemblyman. And he said he was on board to do, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Dave. Yes.
So you said he was on board to start this whole thing where you have an accessibility rating system and we start doing that stuff. Whatever happened to that? Is that just we never moved forward, or is that not something that interests you?
Well, I had a Zoom meeting with him 2 weeks ago. I asked him and I asked him, I just think it's overwhelmed. I think he's overwhelmed, Dave. But I will tell you.
Jacob, nobody who works in government is overwhelmed. Don't ever believe that.
All right. I won't believe that, Sal. But I mean, yeah. I talked to Guardian's office about a building that was in question in Galloway in Galloway, and the company that supplies my aid said we would have to move the building altogether. When Guardian's office came back to me and said, no, we won't have to move the building. It's something just as simple as putting a ramp on the side of the building, which in my eyes makes perfect sense.
So you contacted Don and you tried to include him and he.
Oh yeah, I did. I get the aid. I don't get Don, but I did request Don for the meeting of the building, and I got him. But more often than not, I get the aid. Brett, what the heck is his name? Brett Barb. Yeah.
Jacob, yes. Have you ever tried getting other people with handicaps? You're one person, and that's all they're hearing is from one person with a handicap. Could you get a group of people, more than just one, and maybe that might make a bigger impact than one? One voice.
I hear you. Zach, I'm going to call on you for a second. Zach, tell a little bit of the Montclair story, please.
Sure, Jacob. So for those of you who don't know, I went to school at Montclair State University, And there was a peer of mine who was handicap disabled, and she needed assistance everywhere that she went. Well, she found that throughout the school, that's a New Jersey school, a government school, that not all the doors were handicap accessible. And it started creating a buzz around campus. And she went to the school newspaper and decided to speak out, much like Jacob, about the handicap accessibility at Montclair State University. And I got her information over to Jacob, and Jacob spoke with her. And she may be someone who is going to be speaking at this event in May about her experience with handicap accessibility. I believe she had a cerebral palsy, I believe. Was that correct, Jacob?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
She had the use of one, much like me, use of one arm, able to walk, but Zach will tell you she had an extremely difficult time walking. Extremely difficult time walking. Zach told me Montclair is extremely hilly.
Yep.
One of the items on tonight's agenda is I would like at some point before our event happens in May, I don't care who goes, but I want, whether it's me and Zach take a trip, Reverend Davis, I want to go to a trip to physically see, back to what we said in the beginning this past year, what did Montclair do right? Because Barb had sent me a story. It was not Montclair. I think it might have been New York, if I'm mistaken. I don't know where she was. But anyway, same idea of the story, but she couldn't get down because the elevator was broke. It's a major concern. I visited ACCC in Stockton, having done work out there. If I had to critique once again, I'm going to pull out the rating system that Dave just referenced. If I were to compare the buildings and their structures in relation to accessibility, ACCC fared better than Stockton.
And Montclair, there was multiple times that you would go to hit the door, because let's face it, we're all lazy sometimes, or going in and out of these colleges, bringing a lot of stuff in, that you would hit the handicap accessibility sign and the door wouldn't open. So someone like Trinity, who is a student there, cannot open the door because she has crutches that she uses. And it creates a frustration for her. And there were multiple times that many of the old buildings that are there at Montclair, where she couldn't get in easily because she would have her backpack, she would have some books, and granted, she would have a service, much like Jacob has, that takes her to the school. But after that, she's on her own. And like Jacob said, the school is very hilly. The buildings are very hard to get into at times. So it created a frustration for her. And being a peer and being a student at Montclair, I could see the frustration that she had to go through. She would have to get up very early to get to school and be one of the first people that was there. And it just raised awareness of handicap accessibility at Montclair, but I think they can even go above and beyond and do something more.
And Zach, while I have you, please tell your story and as it relates to accessibility, please.
Sure. So I grew up in a big Italian family, and I was lucky enough to have my great-grandmother for 18 years of my life. But through those 18 years, she suffered neuropathy in the legs, which is a condition where it leaves someone paralyzed, unable to walk. So through my time with her, I've seen the good parts, and then towards the end, of high school. I saw the bad parts, and I saw the toll that it took on my grandmother. My grandmother had to quit her job in order to take care of my grandmother. And there were many nights when my grandmother couldn't go out because she didn't want to have a facility come in and take care of her, and nor did we have the funds to do that. So we found that we had to pick and choose the things that we did with great grandma because many of the places weren't handicap accessible. And just the frustration that it puts on a family. And there are many times I would have to watch her because nobody was available. And you would think her having 4 kids, only one kid's doing most of the work. All the other family members aren't doing anything. So maybe some of you can relate to that as well. It puts a burden on that one family member who's doing something. So that's my experience with handicap accessibility. Going to school was another experience of mine. And even having Jacob come to see me sing at a place down in Wildwood. You would think a place that is a very big tourist attraction, they would have handicap accessibility. They do not. And it's a challenge to get Jacob into these places that I perform because they don't have handicap accessibility. So that is why I'm here, to raise an awareness for that and to create a voice here in South Jersey and hopefully throughout entire Jersey that we need help. And handicap accessibility should be something that is on everybody's mind.
Zach, I thank you. I will go into it a little deeper. I had gotten there. The ramp, which they are telling you is a ramp. Yes, it's a ramp to a T. The ramp is foldable. They have to get it out from probably a store, I would imagine a storage closet. I don't know. It is not a physical ramp. My fear for someone who is older, because we know wheelchairs are not as sturdy as the one that I have. My fear is if you have somebody with a walker, and I said this to Zach this afternoon, God forbid you have somebody walking and because this structure is not sturdy, someone falls down. Went to get me into the restaurant. I was gunning full force. Wheels were spinning. Zach was pushing me from behind to get in. And I had a woman on one side and my mom on the other. I think my mom and my sister was on the other. And mind you, my chair is an electric chair and it just can't get up. So that is another idea. I know Wildwood is an hour away, but Zach, you're down there tomorrow night. I almost wonder, could we at some point take a look at it? Because if you think about the rating system that Dave had just mentioned to me, looking at that is I would classify it as D right away. And the front entrance of the restaurant has a step on top of it. So there's no way whatsoever in humanity to even get me because of the step. And you know, it's just a concern because I'll be back then. I hope I'll be back then there at least once, maybe twice before the year's out. But you know, it's just a concern. Like Naima said, you're not just thinking of me, you're thinking of he has older people that come to his restaurant. Zach's Wildwood ladies, as they're called. not to sound a little funny there, but you know, it's like you gotta think of this stuff, and the fact that a short town didn't see that, where people get tourists, 3, 4, 5, well into the fall, maybe 6 months a year. It's like, it's an eye opener, and it was an eye opener the night I was with you, Zach. So I just wanted to.
Absolutely. And don't even get me started on the beach there. 2 miles long just to get to the Wildwood
It's not a
Beach.
good beach. It's not a good beach. Sure.
Oh my God. It is horrible. Horrible beach. Horrible beach.
I don't like going there with a decent, even just with not having a handicap.
I know.
Absolutely.
It's a very long beach.
Mm-hmm.
I sent Jacob, it was on Facebook from Ocean City. They have extended the beach maps.
Yeah.
They're making them longer now in Ocean City. And it was just in one of their local papers.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's an improvement, thank heavens.
Yep. Ocean City, Maryland had something very similar. We would take my great grandmother down there, but even then, the wheelchair could only go so far. After that, you would have to walk or have to carry. So
Margate has the best accessibility on the beach.
does it? I've never been to the Margate.
Margate's got chairs at every lifeguard stand.
That's good, Dave.
Awesome.
That's very good. I never knew that. Thank you, Dave, for letting me know that. I didn't know that. Thank you very much. Sal, I know you have a cousin that has accessibility issues. You may tell your story now, please.
Yeah. So my cousin has autism and muscular dystrophy. So, basically for us, I mean, she's nonverbal. So finding services early on, which has become much easier over the years, was a little difficult. And like you guys were saying at the beginning, just kind of finding the right combination of things and the right kind of people. But further than that, there's the whole idea of the services not really being accessible to the people who need it. In other words, it's always going to have to be a family member or someone that's kind of advocating for you, where we were saying, hey, Jacob's not the only disabled person out there. My whole stance on this is that there should be more people with disabilities in these portions of government that deal with this. I think that things would be handled in a much more personal way. I think that issues won't fall to the back burner like they do. That they won't, there won't be any. What's the word? There won't be any lack of importance when it comes to these issues being spoken about. And I think we're living in a world where it's much more possible now, and that people are much more open to the idea and much more understanding of people with disabilities that could happen. So I'm very optimistic that we can make changes in that regard. And I'm very serious, Jacob, when I say, when you have your office in Trenton, because it just needs to happen. If it doesn't, these issues are not going to be so important to people because they're not going to understand, period. No one's going to understand how difficult it is for you to get around. Look at Monmouth University, for instance. They had accessible doors that were non-functional, and probably the whole reason is because whoever is in charge of accessibility at that school either is What's that?
Isn't handicapped.
One more time.
The person who's in charge is probably not handicapped.
Right. Well, not only not handicapped or disabled, but probably doesn't know anybody who is. Because if they did, they would know how important it is that these things are regularly checked, you know, and inspected. And probably the reason why they're not more regularly checked and inspected is because of legislation. There probably isn't enough regulation to where these things are required to be regularly inspected. They're honestly in state buildings, like a state university, like a government building, like a beach. There should be a team that's assigned to regularly checking these things, because they can't be broken ever, period. They can't be not working for any amount of time, because then that, like I've said countless times before, that restricts your freedom. And Jacob, you're just as much an American as us. If we have this unlimited freedom coast to coast, so should you. So really, you know, services need to be improved. Number one, the lines of communication, as we just heard from Jacob, to call someone who works for New Jersey Access Link, who does not know whether or not the bus can take you somewhere. It's not just frustrating. It's an atrocity, because it's kind of infringing on your freedoms as an American. We're all entitled to the same thing. So that's my piece.
Now I have a question, Jacob. Correct me.
Of course, Zach. I'm always open. You know.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember the first time you did this panel, and I was there. You said that you were dropped off in Hamilton. Is that correct? So shouldn't the bus company be able to drop you off in Hamilton anywhere?
Yeah. And Zach, you're bringing up a good point, because their Hamilton drop-off point, and I know you all know where, well, most of you know where it is the ShopRite. So, of course, I don't know Hamilton that well, so can someone help? How far in miles, and I'm not a mathematician, how far in miles is that?
I would say 5. I would say 5. It would probably take you from that ShopRite anywhere in Hamilton, anywhere you are. It takes you 5 minutes to get to somewhere.
5 minutes.
That place.
Absolutely. That's really far from everything.
Yeah.
Well, Jacob, I think you told the story once of a bus only being able to take you like within a mile of where you had to go, and they wouldn't take you the rest of the way. Like,
yeah, Sal. I was doing a resource fair for Faces for Autism, and I called and they said, "Oh, it's this is exact 0.35 miles from your destination. We do not go there." I called, much to the same. I called the Fairline and the customer line, and the woman did get back to me almost immediately and saying, "You are correct." So, which to me just boggles my mind. And Naima, to answer your question, I did contact last year. I do have some friends in the disabled community who were extremely active to see if they would even sit in the audience. To sit in the audience, and they did not return my call, text. I wanted them there, but they did not.
Well, like you said, Jacob, they're probably overwhelmed.
They weren't. Yeah, they're probably overwhelmed, but they are but they are very bright individuals. Belinda, you've worked on Matthew's Mission, you've worked with Faces with Me, you've worked the Master Gardener program at Rutgers, you've worked just the field. Tell your story, because you told a story to me in an interview about Matthew's Mission and one of your kids wandering in the pool. You can tell us.
Oh, on Massey's Mission.
Yeah, tell the almost pool story, and your husband had to get him out.
Oh gosh, I forgot about that, Jacob. Yes, that was a really serious thing. And it was one of the things that kicked us off to looking for swim lessons for the kids. We were really lucky that this was about a year into swim lessons, but was the worst incident. And that's the one I'm going to tell you about, but it had happened before. My son, in fact, we're going through a period right now where he just randomly leaves the house. It's not, I wouldn't necessarily call it elopement. He has an agenda. He knows where he wants to go. He's very clear on where he wants to go. But he's not, you know. And so, and when he's, you know, almost 5 foot tall now. So there's not really a way for us to lock the door in a way that he can't get it unlocked at this point. But he's always been really crafty with locks anyway. And I probably everyone knows this here, but if not, children with autism are very attracted to water. And we have a pond right down from us, like a couple of buildings down. And then we also have a pool across the street. And unfortunately, one of the things that we experienced with the pool was, you know, even when you're in a situation where there are people around, people may not be willing to help you at all. And what happened to us was that he got out of the house. And luckily we knew early enough that we knew where to go look for him. And we kind of know, you know, look at water first. But we noticed that he had gotten out of the house. The two of us were looking around and we found him at the pool. He had jumped in the pool, fully clothed. Everything. There were 2 lifeguards on duty at the time who refused to help us. They stood there and said, well, what are you going to do? You have to get him out of here. He's not even signed in. He's 9. And obviously he had gotten away from us because we were panicked looking for him. And so glad that we found him, but, and glad that he had been in swim lessons long enough through Massey's Mission that he could keep himself above water, because the lifeguards did not help. They stood on the side and said, well, they told my husband, well, aren't you going to jump in and get him? Even though one of them was in the water. So one of them got in the water, still wouldn't help him out, and looked at my husband and said, well, aren't you going to jump in and get him? So we, unfortunately, as families, we experience things like that where, even when there's someone who's supposed to be trained to help, as soon as they realize that the person has a disability, they don't want to help. And it's scary as a parent. It's scary as, I'm sure, as an adult, knowing that you could be in a situation where people won't help you. But I think that makes programs like Massey's Mission all the more important. Because that is probably why he didn't drown, because he had enough, he had swim lessons long enough that he could keep himself above water, and he was okay. And then we, you know, my husband did, you know, get him out of the pool, and then we brought him home and he was fine and everything. But yeah, I think it's something that people need to know. And I think that it's something that, you know, especially being at the shore, or being in an apartment complex like we are, where there's a pool that is accessible, particularly in the summer, easily accessible. I think it needs to be a part of training for people in those positions that, you know, how to deal with someone with a disability. It was pretty obvious. They were angry that he had jumped in the pool with his clothes on, rather than understanding the situation that he obviously had a disability. They were angry that he had not followed the rules. And I thought, so this is something that people need to be aware of and be able to spot, like, oh, this is someone who cognitively doesn't understand. And how can we help them? Because there are ways that they could have easily gotten him out of the pool, or at least he could have been in a safe zone. Anyway, that's kind of the gist of the story, but it's a scary story. And what if he hadn't have had swim lessons? Would they not have helped him? I mean, that's the thing for me, that's on my mind. What if he hadn't had swim lessons and he wasn't keeping himself above water? Would they have helped him? Or would they have been like, well, he's not supposed to be in the pool. Where are his parents? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where we were in the moment. It matters that he was obviously someone who needed help and didn't belong in the pool in the moment. So yeah, programs like that are really, really important. And the other thing you touched on, Jacob, was the Master Gardener program. I'm the Master Gardener coordinator for Atlantic County. And I think through conversations with Jacob, but also just in my own experience, I really started to look around and notice there are a lot of parks and gardens and things like that in our area that are not at all accessible. And my demonstration garden at my own office was one of them. And it made me look at it and say, I invited a group from special services to come over, and they were coming over once a week. But I noticed that for many of them, it was accessible and it was a wonderful experience. But the kids that came over with walkers and crutches and in wheelchairs, most of my garden was not accessible to them, which felt, particularly in my position, embarrassing to me. And something that it made me want to look at everything that we do and say, it's part of, it's actually part of our mission and part of, we're partially funded by the USDA. So it's something that should be on our radar, but unfortunately it wasn't. And now it is. It's something that I'm advocating in every one of our gardens. It has to be handicap accessible, and we look at what are some things that we can do to make them handicap accessible. But part of that is reaching out to the community to tell us what would make this space more usable for you and something that makes sense to you. Because I can create a space based on what I think works, but that's actually something that I can honestly say drives me a little nuts with some organizations. They don't ask the people they're trying to work for what they need. You know, you have to ask the people that you're trying to make it accessible for, what would make it accessible for them. Not assume because you Googled or you read something, or you can't assume what would make it. You have to ask the community that you're targeting what they need. So I am all for needs assessments and looking and talking to groups and saying what makes it accessible for you? What can we do? And what can we do as a group? Who can we get involved to make this happen in our community? Because it's not a question of whether or not it can happen. It has to happen. Everyone deserves that right. It has to happen. We have to make it happen.
Yeah.
There, I'll step off my soapbox now. Sorry.
No. As I told everybody, never, ever, ever be sorry. As I said the night of our event last year, and I've got a fantastic panel coming. They're just coming in droves. But you know, Belinda, it's the stories like that will open people's eyeballs and say, yeah, something's got to give. And I mean, you know, you know, nobody likes to play the what if card, but thank God for Massey's mission, because Belinda, it was Alex, correct?
Yes, it was Alex. It was my youngest. Yeah.
Because thank God for Massey's mission, because ultimately they saved his life. You know, they saved a catastrophe from turning into an epic nightmare. And I will tell a story. Reverend Dave met one of my partner's classmates way back in the beginning when we were planning last year. And it's very similar to Belinda's. Kid has autism. She couldn't find him. He went away. They went looking for him. Great Wolf Lodge said, we don't have a policy for people like that have autism or any such need. She frantically searched everywhere around the property for him. Thankfully, she found him by the pool. And that leads into my next topic. I would like to go, once we have Reverend Dave and I have talked about this. We would like to go on trips throughout the year for places that are accessible, such as Six Flags Great Adventure in Jackson, New Jersey, because they are rated highly when it comes to accessibility. How high? We don't know. We have to go there, look at it, see it, and decide for ourselves. But just as Zach had said tonight, you're looking at these buildings, and whether it's a short town or not, it's not going to look pretty for the common good when somebody really, really needs help and investment.
Jacob, I just want to interrupt real quick. I'm sorry. I don't know if you know about this program, but also in Atlantic County, we have Project Lifesaver program where the sheriff's office comes out. They usually come to our house every 6 months and give us new batteries and everything. But what it is, it's not just for children with autism, though. I mean, that's what we use it for. But it can also be for elderly people with dementia or anything like that. And it's a bracelet that they put on you that allows them, it's not GPS driven, so they can find, even without a signal, they can find the child within, I think it's 1,500 feet or something like that. But I don't remember the exact miles, but so both my kids have that. And we don't use it as much now that they're older, though obviously since Alex is now getting out of the house again, we'll be putting it back on him. But we use it a lot when we're, if we're at an amusement park or something like that, where they could get away from us quickly and we wouldn't be able to see them. And maybe we're in an area where we don't necessarily have good cell service, because we also keep a phone on our kids because that gives us the ability to find them. But it's a really good program, and another program that can literally be a lifesaver for a lot of different groups of disabled people.
Its weakness is timing.
The only weakness, of course, is that, you have to call the sheriff's office and they have to get here. So there's time they're involved, but it's a really good program. And it also gives them, I'm sorry, that's my husband talking because he's a big fan of it too. And it also gives them the ability to interact with the sheriff on a regular basis. So there's not that fear of people that they don't know, or an officer or something like that. So just another program just to throw out there is available.
Yeah, we have 10 months to look, to see, to speak, and and when I put our group together, I consulted the ones that watched it last year and said, I've got a story to share. And, everybody that has expressed interest tonight, shall I say. You know, it's the stories at the end of the night on May 22nd that are going to be the most thought-provoking, because I will tell you, you are getting Miss New Jersey, the previous winner, is a very good friend of mine, very good friend of the entertainers that were just here. And she will tell you a story about what her mother and she are doing to help give boys and girls the dream of a lifetime so they can have their Miss New Jersey or Miss America moments. If anyone has any suggestions based on, you know, anything at all, please reach out to me. In addition, You're Getting a Teacher, Kathleen Barron will talk about smart technology. I'm curious as to what Sal will probably talk about his family experiences, having a cousin with Down syndrome and autism, because I knew she was muscular dystrophy and autism, but I knew she was disabled, and muscular dystrophy is an extremely debilitating disease. I am curious to hear his talking points on that. Some dates to remember. You may want to put this in your calendars now. May, the weekend, our event is May 22nd. I am looking at hosting something down at the Field of Dreams. It's outside, it's open, during a game night where you all meet each other, get a chance to talk to each other, because, you know, meeting on Zoom is wonderful in its own right, but this way you get to share stories, see where you're all coming from, to, to get the ball rolling. And the second date to remember, we will be having a dress rehearsal May 20, Reverend Dave, the day before the event?
Yeah,
that sounds good. The day before the event, May 21st, 2023. Last year, and Reverend Dave and I have had talks about this. Dress rehearsal is, I don't want to say mandatory, but if you want, we're getting bigger than last time, and we're going harder this time around. I would like a dress rehearsal. Reverend Dave and I have some things planned for the end. I think this year, as I was putting this year's event together, I think this year will have more of an impact on people than last year did, because you're getting more of the personal impacts of people. I have a gym teacher coming on. I have, she's not that famous, but she is a friend of, she was the wife of, you're all probably wondering how I know her. She's the wife of Gilligan from Gilligan's Island. Her husband, Bob Denver, had, so I believe it was Parkinson's and something else, but he had debilitating diseases at the end. So she couldn't make it tonight. She lives out of state, West Virginia. She's going to try and help us. She also has a son on the autism spectrum that she is going to talk about, challenges finding him in a group home setting. I interviewed her for a segment, and let me tell you, I will send it to you. It is probably one of the most real, I don't know if Reverend Dave watched it, but it's got to be one of the most, the stories that she will tell you of getting him into a group home so she can have some sort of normalcy is just, it'll boggle your mind. If anyone has any suggestions on panelists, Barb, I would really like a parent from well, Belinda's a parent from Field too, but I think I would like another parent, maybe another disabled person to come in to talk about their experiences. I just don't know the right one at this moment in time.
One that I would have suggested, Jimmy Gibson has just passed away.
Oh God, yeah.
And
that's, yeah, Jimmy.
I don't know, maybe I can talk with some of his family, I don't know.
Yeah, Jimmy.
Jimmy was 6 years old and he had a terrible automobile accident, which put him in a wheelchair, and he died a couple of weeks ago at 42 years old. And he had a tremendous life, and like Jacob, he had quite a voice, and a family that supported him and did everything possible they could to take him anywhere and do whatever he wanted to do. But he would have been
Barb, Sherry actually, it was, you were retired, I think. Yeah, you were, I want to say you were retired at the time, but he came in and spoke to the 8th grade class. I think I was in seventh grade. And it just, not only him telling this, and this has stuck with me forever, not only him telling the story of how he has the accident as a whole, but how he's fought to live. It's got me emotional thinking about it, but he's just, it's just, Jimmy is the definition of, I can't even get words out. Which Barb knows it's not like me, but I can't get words out at the moment. But it's just, it's just how he carried on each day. And Barb, did he know if he did any like did he do like any, I know he did a tremendous amount of work in the community. Do you know if he did like charity work or anything like that?
I don't really know. I don't know.
Oh, no.
I know one thing, he was bad in the classroom, just like any other kid. And he would give his nurse a very hard time and tell her, no, don't do it that way, write it this way. So
oh, wow.
It was quite devilish.
But yeah, Jimmy Gibson, even Barb, even, you're friends with Sherry. I mean,
I can talk to Sherry and ask her if she would have any interest in doing this.
Yeah, it's the stories like that, how he, And
that story, he was a kid that his future was going to be, like so many others, and it was an accident that caused this problem, unfortunately. And so anyway, he did a lot of good.
Yeah, anyway, I meant to tell the two guys that joined us last year that topics, if they want to speak about something else, they can.
Oh, you have time to figure that out with everything.
Yeah, we have time to figure that out.
And,
but yeah, it's, I know.
I don't know. I'm getting the feeling that you're looking at more stories being told, perhaps. And I don't know, maybe that is a route to go. I don't know. And I just wrote down stories because those stories they are powerful. But I don't want to preach into the people that don't need it. We need to make sure we have people in there that need to hear these things. And it may be some politicians. It may be, heads of certain organizations that, or I don't know who exactly, but we have to really try to get people in there that need to hear these things. Not the population that already is dealing with this stuff. Not that they shouldn't be there, I'm not saying that. And not that they can't share, but we got to get the right clientele in there so that changes can be made.
Yeah.
I mean, not tonight.
Oh, no.
I'm ready for bed, Jacob. It's time to put pajamas on.
No, not tonight. But I'm excited for this year. Welcome to the team, Belinda. We're thrilled. I'm thrilled. You said yes because I can feel it already, and we're 10 months away. I think we've got ourselves an impactful night, my friends.
I just want to clarify the trip to Six Flags, strictly business. There will be no fun going on.
It is a strict business.
Melinda, our pastor loves Six Flags.
Six Flags.
He loves it there, especially during Halloween.
I don't think I'd be able, I don't think I'd be allowed to go without my kids. I think that they would feel very cheated.
You're right.
We're bringing the youth group to Fright Fest.
Nice.
And they're like, can we do that? I said, look, we're going to Fright Fest as the church, okay? If you find any zombies, you send them to me, and I will bury them again. Because apparently the first guy didn't do it very well. We're making memories.
That's good, Reverend Dave.
Memories to be had
and memories to be made.
Yeah.
Maybe we can meet somebody in charge there, Jacob, and ask them their process for accessibility stuff, and maybe they'll come and help.
Yeah, I'd be down. I'm all up. I would love that idea, because as I said, you need the thing, which I was shocked when I read that. I guess I shouldn't have been too shocked, but that you see a national chain of theme parks wanting to actually look at and go, oh yeah, we can be accessible.
There's only one way to find out. You got to go.
And we
I gotta tell you, as a parent who's taken advantage of those accessibility ones, sometimes you got to take a look at them too, though, because they present themselves as very accessible, but they're not always all that accessible or fair. We love Sesame Place, and luckily, I mean, we're such a staple there at this point that because we go there all the time, that we can just go in and get another card. But actually, the way theirs is set up, this is probably why we can just go in and get a new card throughout the day. I went in and complained because when they first redid their system, where you go in and you have to give them kind of sensitive, I feel like private information in order to get that card, to be able to say that your child has a disability and they get the special ride access, but it only allows them one time on each ride. And I thought, you're not limiting anyone else in the park. So you're basically saying to my child, well, but because you have a disability and you can't stand in line for that long, we're going to allow you to go on the ride one time. So I was the parent who went in there in the office and said, listen, that's not fair. And that's not accessibility. That's giving the presentation that you're being accessible. You're not actually being accessible. So it's interesting to take a look at those programs and say, because they do go nationwide and say, oh, look how accessible we are. But then taking a look at it and saying, but really, how accessible are you? It's kind of important, you know.
Good
Because
point.
kids don't understand, well, I have the special card, but it's only good for one, you know.
That's, Belinda, you just said that and it got me thinking. It's like, what if you had a kid that really enjoyed that ride? And how do you politely tell a little kid you can't go on that ride anymore because you're only allowed one time? That's just not fair. Yeah. And Belinda, correct me if I'm wrong. It's Sesame Place. Is that a national chain?
Yes, it's part of the SeaWorld of things. So it's not just Sesame Place. It's SeaWorld in Texas and San Diego, and I think they have something in Williamsburg too. They have a lot of different parks. So anything in that SeaWorld chain, they're using that. But I think that the system they use might be the same one that Six Flags is using, where you go online and you fill out all this paperwork and they want a copy of your IEP. And that felt a little like intruding to me. I was like, really? I don't feel like you should need that. But you know, you kind of get stuck as a parent, like, well, if I don't, then you know, what do I do? I don't have access. So that was one of my complaints of that program. I was like, I feel like that's a little intrusive. I don't really think you need a copy of my child's IEP. I think I would be okay with my doctor verifying that he has a disability. I'm okay with that. But asking for documents makes me say, you wouldn't ask for that you wouldn't ask for that for an employee. An employee, you would never be legally allowed to ask for that. So asking for it from your patrons doesn't seem okay either. But that's the same of all of the accessibility programs. It's not just SeaWorld, it's all of them. That's kind of the way they do it. It's for verification. And I get it, you know, they don't want people getting it if they're not, but I don't know. I feel like there's got to be better ways to do it that preserve this is one of my big things. We always have to worry about preserving the dignity of the person too, and the privacy of the person, because they still deserve that, you know, even with accessibility.
Yeah, and I was just thinking, if you're asking for something as confidential as an IEP, like that, because I have to be careful working in schools. That's like, that's not like that is. That's HIPAA related business. And if you go off the deep end with that, you're screwed. That's why all my stuff is saved in like individual, you know, folded up.
Right. But you know, HIPAA doesn't actually cover that. I checked into it. It doesn't cover things like that. It covers your doctor giving information to someone. So if someone else asks for that information, there's no HIPAA violation there. It's a law that's kind of like sort of helpful, sort of not really at all, you know. So sometimes we think we're protected by it, but we're actually not. And that's one area where you're not really protected by it. It's just sort of, they can ask for that. You can refuse, but then you don't get the service. So,
right.
It's like a win-win situation, really.
A win-lose situation.
Right, more like a lose-lose.
Yeah.
That's what I meant, guys. Forgive me. The brain is not. Thank you.
That's because you want to get your pajamas on. You want to go to bed, that's why. Jacob?
But yeah, guys, Belinda, welcome to the team. I'm thrilled to have Barb, Frida, and Naima back, and Reverend Dave. I'm thrilled that they are
Got
coming
no
back.
choice about me, Jacob. No
We're
choice.
glad to be back, Jacob.
Yeah, thank you, guys. I'm really looking forward to a fun year, and I'll leave you with this thought. It came from me from Kathleen Barron, who you'll meet, Reverend Dave, and the committee members are friendly with now. She said, you know, hearing the stories that we did last time, it should only make people want to do better, but you got to have the right frame of mind to want to, go forth. And like I said, I'm looking forward to this coming year. If anyone needs me, the four of you know how to reach.
We know how to get Jacob.
We got your number in more than one way.
more than one way. Thank you guys again. If anyone has any questions, anything, feel free to reach out.
Okay.
Very good. We will, Jacob. We shall.
Bye, Georgie.
Get out there. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye,
Georgie.
Bye, Georgie.
Thank you. Bye.
See you, Jacob.
Georgie.
Bye.
See ya.
Night.
No.
Night, everyone.
Good night.